Hello and welcome back to Educator. This lesson we're going to be doing one of the most important things that you can ever do when reading, and that's find that thesis. So lesson overview will go like this. First off, what is a thesis, as well as what is a topic? Then we're going to go over some sample quiz questions and some sample paragraphs you might see on a quiz. And then secondly, how do you find a thesis? What do you do? And then we'll do a few exercises together, and I'll show you how you can find a thesis in an essay. What is a thesis? Those of you who took the writing course, you know what this is. This is the mighty inverted triangle. We start with the topic, we go to the thesis, major details, and minor details. Topic is the most broad, thesis is a little bit more narrow, and then major details and minor details go all the way down to the bottom. So, what is a topic? It's going to be always the broadest thing you can think of and find in the reading essay. It's usually stated in a single word or short phrase, like dolphins, or Native Americans in South Dakota, or dinosaurs. These are all examples of topics. I haven't said anything about these yet, but I've given you a very, very broad thing to start thinking about. If you can't find the topic in the introduction, writer's probably not doing the best job for you. You will always be able to find the topic in the introduction, even if it's at the very last sentence because the author just decided to surprise you. The topic is how you would answer this simple question. Hey, what is this essay all about? Now, if we know what a topic is, what is a thesis? A thesis is something that you can state in a single sentence, and it makes a statement about the topic. Often, the thesis will describe what comes next in the essay, or at least give you a hint as to what else you can expect to be reading. Very often, a thesis is expressing an opinion, a judgment, a set of facts that the author wants you to believe and accept too. The thesis will always be supported by major details later, but there's a bit of a rub here. Thesis is not always directly stated. That's very, very important, and I'll show you why in just a second here. This thesis is so obvious that it's underlined for you. Junior colleges, and we got junior colleges, and we got junior colleges. Notice how many times that came up? Well, that's telling me what the topic is. The topic is junior colleges. Now, if I read a little bit more carefully, I would find this sentence right here. There are two reasons why junior colleges are becoming popular. Notice, I got the topic in my thesis here, and I even got a little predictor here, 2 reasons. That's going to tell me what else is going to come next. This is an example of a very, very simple paragraph that you might see on a test entrance exam, and it'll tell you exactly what the thesis is, and it's not too hard to find. What about this sample paragraph? Let's find the topic first, and then we'll go ahead and see if we can find a thesis. Have you ever thought about the food you eat? Oh, well, large American diet. Now consider the following facts. Ooh, well, first is a keyword. It did mention food and diet, and these are all kind of related to eating. How many people can be fed from that? Ooh, secondly, psychologists have big meals and more food. Finally, okay, Americans fight an epidemic of obesity and high blood pressure. Food. Okay. Right now, in this particular paragraph, I really don't have a thesis directly stated. I've got a topic, though, because it keeps popping up. So what I would have to do here to figure out what the thesis is I'd just look at my details. So first, the resources required to produce beef are equal to what produces a dozen loaves of bread. All right, so it's an important detail. Psychologists have proven that big plates mean big meals and more food. So watch your restaurant's plates. Okay, Americans fight an epidemic of obesity and high blood pressure. All right, so So far, what I've noticed about this is that the author is kind of pointing out some bad things about food and asked us to think about the food that we eat. What I would have to do to figure out the thesis of this one is I'd look at the major supporting details, look at the topic, and ask myself, what is the author's claim? What is their opinion? What is their judgment? And then I would actually write out what the thesis is in my own words. Remember, the thesis won't always be explicitly stated. That's why we have to be kind of clever and infer what it might be. So, how do you find a thesis? Find that topic. Look for any important keywords. We're going to be going over those in future lessons. And look for anything that helps you predict what is coming next. If you can't find a nice sentence that tells you exactly what the thesis is, go ahead and find those details. First, second, third are very common keywords, and maybe they're just giving you some details about the topic before they give you the thesis. Now, let's go ahead and do some sample exercises in finding just a topic and just a thesis. This is an example of what you might see on a test, but it's also what would be very useful for any homework or quiz assignments you're doing right now. Not everyone is prepared for the zombie apocalypse. However, contrast keyword, it does not look like we need to be. We'll need to be what? Prepared for the zombie apocalypse. Well, zombie movies, so we're going to go ahead and talk about that. An actual zombie outbreak would be rather tame. Oh, here are 3 reasons why. Are we getting a prediction here? Are we getting a hint of what's coming next? Let's see if we can find some keywords that are giving us major supporting details. First, zombies. Let's see. Let's skim. Oh, secondly, finally, zombies. Yet, people, this is like, okay, finally, that's a keyword. Hey, what's the topic here? Zombies. More specifically, zombies and the zombie apocalypse. What is the author's claim about the zombies? Well, I think that they're saying an actual zombie outbreak would be rather tame. And there are 3 reasons why we don't need to worry about the zombie apocalypse. Notice this thesis is kind of split up into 2 sentences. If I really wanted to, I'd write down here, thesis, 3 reasons why the zombie apocalypse will be tame. That would be a good idea for a thesis if I was to write it out here, just to myself and just to take notes. Let's move on to the next example. I attended a parochial school at St. Benedict's Academy. It was known for its sports teams, parochial school, and discipline. Who was the most memorable teacher? This is kind of important here. It's important because it's a rhetorical question. If somebody asks a rhetorical question, they're about to tell you something important. Dr. Samir. Dr. Samir was British, he was Pakistani descent. Who's he? Taught Latin during my time. I can still hear Dr. Samir's voice, misbehaving student, his clever punishment after, okay. All right, good. So I've highlighted a couple things here. I've highlighted Dr. Samir, and I've cited Dr. Samir in any preposition that talks about Dr. Samir. So, what's my topic here? Is it St. Benedict's Academy or Dr. Samir? Might think it's this because it was mentioned right away in the beginning, but it turns out Dr. Samir was mentioned over and over again. That said, he's probably the topic. Now, do I have a nice thesis here that jumps right out of you and I can underline? Well, no, but I do have several details about Dr. Samir. So let's see if we can make a thesis from those details. Well, he taught Latin, and he was stern, and let's see, and he had clever punishments. So if I was to write down what I thought the thesis was down at the bottom here, I'd probably write, Dr. Samir was a tough teacher who gave us clever punishments and taught us a lot. Maybe that's what a thesis might be, but at least I know what the topic is. Here's another exercise for you. Anthropology comes from 2 Greek words, anthros, which means humanity, and logos, which means knowledge. Thus, anthropology is a study of human beings. There was a word here that was defined for me right at the beginning. Chances are that's a very important word. And I do notice that this big word anthropology keeps coming up again and again. Have I found my topic? You bet I have. I know the topic is anthropology. So, what's my thesis? Well, let's look here. I notice that we talk about one type of anthropology is physical anthropology, and we have details like that. Later, I notice a contrast keyword, another, something different, is cultural anthropology. How many types of anthropology have I found in this paragraph so far? 2. So I think the thesis here is, even though it's not directly stated, it's probably something like, there are 2 types of anthropology. So, I promise that by the end here, you'll be able to make theses just like that, and you'll be able to find them if they're written down so that they jump out right out at you. What I'd like you to do is go online at Educator and read the 3 short essays that connect with this lesson. After you've done that, answer the multiple choice questions. This is kind of a warm-up for what you might expect on something like the KC, ACT, or the SAT. Finally, read the longer essay and answer the multiple choice questions for that one as well. Go ahead and print those out and write down on them, underline them, do whatever you want. Check your answers later, and thanks for using Educator.